Good afternoon and welcome to Today on BayTV. We are live in Swansea on Thursday, the 15th of June 2017. I'm Henry Darby Cook, next to me is Liz Cairns. Before we start the show, we're going to hear some amazing music from Dolly Mavis. Take it away.
Don't need you at all. And I'll be listening loud, listening to all I hear. And my eyes have been closed for too long to disappear, 'cause I'm still here. I'm still waiting, I'll consume the sea. I'm not waving but drowning. Why don't you come and save me? Almost skin and bone, minds of hope and little faith. We walk into the ocean, watch as our lives break and break. Stayed by your side, heard what she had to say, but I've been living someone else's life. Can't live this way. And all these sticks and stones that you've been throwing me down. Oh, it's gotta be one more reason to stick around. So stay for me. Stay for me. And wait for me. Breathe in, breathe out.
What an amazing way to start the show.
Looking forward to hearing more later.
Definitely.
Well, today we have Nia Griffith, the Shadow Defence Secretary and Member of Parliament for Llanelli. And also we have Neale Hammond.
Close. Neale
Howells.
I just got back from that accent. Yeah, so...
We're having a couple of technical difficulties with the teleprompter today, so bear with us. We are going to be relying on physical scripts. We're going to start with On This Day. This is the part of the show where we look back at what happened on this day. Today is the 15th of June, so we're going to start in 1928. The House of Commons voted to fix the date of Easter. However, a clause in the bill allowed the consideration of the opinions of all major churches, and that the act was never put into force. So this is quite interesting that this is something that was debated back then. Would this ever come up now, Nia, do you think, a debate about when Easter is?
I can understand why people would want to have that debate because we have actually fixed the Whitsun holiday now, haven't we? That used to follow what was Whitsun, and now it's a spring bank holiday. And you can understand with the exam boards and schools that different years, the Easter holiday falls in a completely different time. And so you can understand where there would be calls for it. But I think that it does go back to where the moon is at a particular time, doesn't it? And there's a sort of earliest it can be and a latest it can be. So I would suspect that it might be something very sensitive for a lot of people. What is interesting, of course, I believe it's not uniform across all countries. I think the Eastern Orthodox Easter may be a slightly different time from the Easter that we celebrate here. But yes, I think I'm sure that one day somebody will want to reopen that debate.
That'd be very interesting. Maybe, well, Christmas is fixed, isn't it? I'm trying to think what other dates move according to Father's Day and Mother's Day is always that certain Sunday, isn't it? Your birthday.
My birthday. I use that if I go out on a weekend. Just my birthday. Thank you very much.
That's a good one, isn't it?
I think many people have done that, actually.
I know. I'll catch on now. I've ruined it for myself now. So,
moving on, 1993, James Hunt, the English racing driver, the 1976 Formula One world champion, died of a heart attack at the age of 45.
Also with a smile on his face, no doubt.
I can imagine so. Obviously, a legend within the sport, and this was kind of at the height of where Formula One was kind of, I think, Playboy-esque to say the least.
Well, I seen the film recently, isn't it?
Rush?
Rush, yeah. So it was, it was brilliant. I mean, anybody who doesn't know anything about James Hunt, it's worth having a watch, and the rivalry that he had. But the way that he could, that he used his racing as a sort of an enjoyment rather than taking it really professional. But that's what made it so good. It was chalk and cheese, wasn't it, between these two? But yeah, James Hunt, he was a character, wasn't he? We've had characters in sport like that a lot. I mean, I'll always remember, was it Serge Blanco? Is it the French full-back? Now, he was this in the 70s, where he'd be playing a rugby match and he'd have somebody with a cigarette waiting for him on the sideline. So when they were taking a kick, he'd go off and have a fag. I mean,
I've never heard of that.
No.
Oh, you said,
wow. I mean, it's kind of, these characters of sport, I think, are lost today, aren't they? Because it's such a discipline. So especially in football, do you think there's any left, Neil? I'm trying to think now. Lewis Hamilton, no?
They can't, can they? I mean, I think what I know about it is if they step out of place, sponsorship goes, doesn't it?
Of course, yeah.
And it's all about how much, there's a lot riding on these people now, and they celebrity can employ other people, so it's like they daren't get out of. I wouldn't.
No.
I mean, I'd be strict down the line, I would. If it was between £1 million and not having £1 million, I'd do what they say as well.
Anyway, moving on. 1998, Britain introduced the £2 coin. This is really interesting because we're going through a phase now of new money. So we recently had... we had the new £5 note first, which was obviously the waterproof £5 note. We've recently just had a new pound coin. Is there anything? I think there's a new £10 note, isn't there, due Nia, soon?
Well, I believe so, but obviously I don't know the exact timetables.
No, I think it's before the end of this year.
For the same reasons then again, obviously.
Yeah, definitely. Can you remember this, Neil?
Oh yeah, I can remember fratbands. I know what you're going to say.
No, I was going to say, can you remember when the £2 coin came into use?
I don't know. Yeah, probably. I mean, it was quite recent, really. It was in the 90s and that. But for me, when they introduced the £2 coin, that was it. I mean, it really nailed the pound a pint, really. Then when everything went up to £2. But those £5, I hope they're not. I don't like them at all.
No.
And if they're going to make them to £10, but
what's the issue?
Well, they don't look like real money. They don't feel like real money. And when you've got money in your hand, it's nice to have it, even if it's not much, but it feels like it. Yeah. Well, those fivers, I don't know what they're thinking. Plastic. I don't know. We all want to recycle plastic, but, I think they could have, kept that as paper, but there we are.
Fair enough. In the final moments, this is a very interesting one. 2015, real estate mogul Donald Trump launches his campaign to become the US president. So that was all a dream, I guess, in 2015, and now everything's changed.
Definitely. I don't think anybody probably thought they'd be where they are now.
No.
With them.
It's
not even him. I don't think his art was in it. I think he's more of a person who wants to compete rather than when he got what he got. I think he's well. To me, when you look at him, he just doesn't like the job.
He seems like a showman, doesn't he?
Well, yeah, he just doesn't seem to be happy doing what he's doing. I mean, you know, if you, like Nia, you want to be a MP,
Well,
don't you?
I think the difference is he was very much an individualist, and you could do that in a campaign.
Yeah.
You could be, you know, here he is, this is the man, you know, he has all this following, and very much an individualist. But actually, when you're in government, you have to work with everybody else. It's a democracy, it's not a dictatorship. So he's got his own, you know, Republican.
I'm going to have to
Congress
stop you there.
and
Sorry,
so forth. You've
we're
got to
running out of
agree with
time. We'll pick up this conversation after the break. They're both going to stay with us.
Yeah.
See you in a minute.
See the papers as well. Welcome back to Today on BayTV. I'm Liz Cairns, and with me is Henry Darby-Cook. And Nia Griffith, the Shadow Defence Secretary and Member of Parliament for Llanelli, is with us, and so is Neale Howells, a local artist from Neath. Said correctly.
Yeah, so we're doing the papers. Well, obviously there's one story still dominating.
Yes, in all the fronts of the pages, the papers, is the fire.
The Inferno.
Yes, the Grenfell fire, yeah. And on everybody's lips, and obviously the fronts of the papers, is why and how did this actually happen in 2017. There are so many things at the moment, nothing has been determined, so we can't really specify on why, but there are things that have been said that could have been put into place. As you know, Harriet Harman, she had said on numerous occasions that there needed to be an investigation into the fire regulations and check that it was safe. This is going back from 2009. How did you feel about that? Because you knew about this.
Well, I think the real issue here, obviously, is that we need to get on as quickly as we possibly can, because there are many other people living in flats across the country who must be very, very, very worried at the moment. And, you know, obviously it's very, very early days, and our thoughts and sympathies are very much with the families at the moment. But we certainly do need a very, very thorough look at exactly what's going on here and exactly what can be done to make sure that this never happens again and that people are safe in their flats. But, you know, this is 2017, as you say. There are all sorts of mechanisms, I'm sure, that we can put in place. But the worrying thing is where it appears that residents had raised issues and that these were not taken up. Now, obviously, this is only speculation. This is only what we're reading in the papers at the moment, and we'll have to find out exactly what all that means. But if it is true that warnings were given and they were not acted upon, then that is a very, very serious situation indeed. In other words, people have died needlessly, and that is obviously very, very shocking for us.
How does something like this happen in 2017, I think, is the question everyone was asking, because obviously it only recently had £10 million spent on it. And the thing is, all over the country, people probably live in flats that have recently had a facelift. Should they be worried?
Well, I think that we need to ask very serious questions. Of course, we don't know exactly until we have the investigations, but certainly I'm sure that local authorities up and down the country will be looking very, very quickly at every measure that they already do to make sure that they're up to speed and up to date with all of that. But then, we may well need to have further investigation if there is something to do with the type of cladding that's been put on, perhaps hasn't been factored in. So yes, it's a horrific situation, and we do need, obviously, for people to make the investigations and to find out as soon as possible what we can do, and we need to do it. And it may cost money, but we have to spend money.
The fact that there weren't sprinklers.
I was going to say, there's so many other factors that there weren't sprinklers. Apparently, alarms weren't going off. Apparently, residents were told to actually go back into their flats, that everything was fine.
I would say, right, my view on it is that there doesn't seem to be much accountability anymore. I mean, what I can see of it, if somebody's at fault, then it seems like we've had 3 governments in the last 7 years or whatever it is. 2 with minorities, and they've still got in. But even when they do get in, they say, we will do this, we guarantee we'll get the debt down or the deficit down, and swear blind they can do it. 5 years later, it doesn't seem to be much accountability anymore. So if somebody is found to be responsible for this, then they should be. They should have some sort of punishment. I mean, not just walk away from it.
Where does the responsibility lie? With the local authority?
Well, I think very often it is the local authority, and obviously inspections need to be up to date, and advice needs to be taken. And I think there are some serious questions that we're going to need to answer. And of course, sometimes people are too ready to put something to one side saying, oh, it'll never happen. I think if you remember, Anne Jones, the Assembly member, brought forward this bill about having sprinklers in all new build. And I think people were saying, oh, it'll be expensive, etc., etc., etc. But, she was obviously absolutely right. And it's too easy to put the health and safety type stuff to one side, to ignore it, and then this happens. And I think we need to be much more careful, and we need to take these warnings a lot more seriously and really make sure that we get things right.
Definitely. And when you think of the costings, the Labour Party had said that the costings would be around about £1,000 per flat, and when you put that against somebody's life, it's nothing, is it?
Well, absolutely, and it's money that needs to be spent. But we need to look at exactly what the situation was here. And as you say, there are a number of factors that were clearly contributing in this case to the problems.
And obviously, the saddest thing of all that no one's going to forget is there's been a loss of life.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And we still don't know the number of that, do we?
Yeah. I think before we came live, it was 17, but they've said obviously it's going to continue to rise. The fact that they couldn't actually get to the highest parts of the flats, and they haven't been able to go in and check and that. There's families that are missing, which they've said it's going to continue.
I mean, it just reminded me a bit of the Twin Towers. I mean, it's like when I seen that, when I come home and put on the TV that was on, not even the Twin Towers looked like what went on in London.
No.
I mean, it was basically a lot of smoke with a lot of fire. Yeah. But this in London, I don't even know. I wouldn't even think the sprinklers would have touched that. It just seemed like an inferno all of a sudden. And do you know what I mean? It was incredibly. I mean, I was looking at the pictures earlier on, and they are absolutely amazing.
So obviously some amazing stories to come from this as well. We spoke about it yesterday. Again, we see these amazing acts of kindness and community where London is usually, gets,
they shunned for not speaking to each other.
Being head down, get on the tube, don't speak to anyone. And then yesterday and today we see people donating clothes, food, shelter. It's really amazing, and it's so important to see that, isn't it, Nia?
Oh, very much so, and obviously we want to help people as much as we can. And I think we've got to think long term. 125 families to be rehoused. We've got to think long term and make sure that the support remains there. That it's not just for now, but that continues, because there are going to be so many different issues for those families.
They have said now also that the amount of people that have donated, if they could stop donating actual items, but then so there's funds.
Okay, go
being put up,
me.
If they could do that instead now, because at the minute they haven't got anywhere to store all the stuff. So obviously, like we said,
it's more efficient to give money, and then they can buy what's needed.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, I was listening to the news this morning. There seems to be a lot of collections going on in Wales and that, and it's really nice to see. It's the British island mentality, really. It's like Britain seems to come together in adversity, in a way. Do you know what I mean? All the four corners of it.
So in the last minutes, we've just had breaking news that a full public inquiry will now take place, and that's been ordered by Theresa May. And I guess we knew that was going to have to happen.
Absolutely.
So, is there anything else in the news, Liz?
Yesterday, on a totally different thing now, but for Swansea, it was a massive thing. We had to take that on our doorstep.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yes.
Take that. Only way it's... No, that's not him. That's Yazoo.
We've got a montage of pictures from yesterday's.
Oh, should we have a little look?
Oh, come on then. We'll do the tunes.
Wow.
Well, there were fans queuing for 30 hours beforehand.
30
I know,
hours?
yes.
What, 30 hours?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. amazing show, but really cool to have the stage in the middle. I know a lot of iconic people have been to the Liberty, haven't they? Now
yes, definitely. Nice to have it in Swansea as well, like a lot of fans were saying, rather than Camden.
I just happened to be passing, right, in the car, you know, and just accidentally, I'm not a Take That fan, but I pull over and it was outside the Liberty.
We're going to have to carry on in the next part. We're going
yes, but thank you. Thank
See you later.
They're both staying with us. See you in a minute.
So,
Welcome back to Today on BayTV. I'm Henry Darby-Cook. Next to me is Liz Cairns.
Yes, and Nia Griffith, the Shadow Defence Secretary and Member of Parliament for Llanelli, is still with us, and so is Neale Howells.
I've just realised it. I'm better off on radio, right? I'm a more radio type of person.
And Neale Howells is still with us.
He is.
I'm still
Just in case anyone needs
Not yet.
to
I was expecting a big hawk to come in, but you know.
So, Nia, we'll start with you. Obviously, back in Parliament this week.
Yeah.
Obviously, Labour didn't win, but something happened. And was it a success? Would you say it was a success in the general election?
Well, I think everybody was taken by surprise by how well Labour did do, because we started in an incredibly low position in the polls, and we really came in actually gaining members of Parliament, actually taking seats off of the parties. So yes, we certainly made a huge leap forward. Of course, in order to be in government, then we'd need another leap forward, and we are ready at any time, of course, if things do not go well with the Conservative, and they're trying to put something together now with the DUP. If that doesn't go well, obviously we are a responsible party, and we want to see things done properly in this country, and we are ready to to step up. But quite clearly, the numbers don't stack up at the moment, and ideally, we would need another general election in order to secure a proper majority.
And how do you feel about the coalition with the DUP?
Well, I think there are some very serious problems there. I think the first problem is, of course, that the UK government should be seen as a neutral broker in talks in Northern Ireland. And we know that Northern Ireland has been without a government since January. There is a crisis situation there, even before we had our election. And it's very important that there is that neutrality, both on behalf of the UK government and, of course, the government of the Republic of Ireland. So that is number one problem, I think, with any deal with the DUP, that it does colour the whole picture there. Obviously, the second issue that we have with the DUP is their very old-fashioned attitude towards women, towards the right to have an abortion, and towards gay rights. And that, again, I think is a very serious issue. And obviously, we'll be watching very carefully to make sure that there is no attempt in any way to push back on those rights across the rest of the UK.
I'm surprised how well he don't mind Corby.
Yeah?
I'm a Blairite.
Right.
I was Tony Blair all the way, we joined under him. And I think, but I was surprised how well Corby done. So he's obviously done, there's a movement there, so he definitely deserves another chance at it. Anyway, to stay in, not wherever they do, they sort of resign, don't they, after an election for some weird reason.
Like all the other people, your perception of him changed throughout the election?
Well, I think he appealed to the young people by the sounds of everything going on, us old people are set in our ways, It's all like, try, don't, you're going to give it a try? No, it's been here for too long, It's like, you can't get rid of trying. So I think, it's there. If he just kind of just alters a few of his little things and pulls people over, then there's only so many votes out there, and it's all by so it's all first past the post anyway. So if he, like Blair did, appeal to the majority instead of the one side, he could be in with a shout at the next time, but. It could be the next couple of months by the sounds of it. Who knows what's going on up there?
I think the point is people saw him. They saw him answering questions, debating, being able to make very sensible, reasoned answers, whatever people threw at him. And they saw him being really put under the spotlight the whole time. I think what you do get in a general election is you get a bit more balance on the television, because they've got to show both parties, whereas normally, in the normal run of things, government gets the lion's share of all the publicity. So I think it was an opportunity for people to get to know him a lot better. But I also think they really rejected the arrogance and opportunism of Theresa May. I think they were turned off by the fact that she took everybody for granted. She seemed to be assuming that she was going to have a massive majority. And people really resent that. British people don't like to be taken for granted. And so I think there were two things happening at once there.
It's clearly uncertain times. We're still yet to have, obviously, the Queen's speech, which is usually quite immediate after a general election. There's talks of another general election. There's talks of even maybe a possible another referendum because of uncertainty. Is there any certainty we can take from what's kind of happened in the last week? What do we know is going to happen moving forward?
Well, certainly it's not a good position, and the government is obviously, the Conservative Party is taking some time to form any sort of a government, and that's not good. It's not good to have a hiatus like this. It's not good to have a gap. As far as Brexit is concerned, I think we need to get on because business needs certainty. Business wants to know what's going to happen. I think now there's a much better chance to get what you would call a softer Brexit. In other words, we accept the decision that people want to be out of the European Union, but we know that people want to protect jobs, they want to protect the economy. And so what we have to do now is get a really good rapport with the other European countries so we can get a good deal for us, so that we can continue to trade, continue to sell all our products to the single market, even though we'll be outside of it. So I think it's very, very important now that the whole tone of those talks should change and that it reflects the mood in the country, which says, yes, we're going to be out, but no, we don't want to have some sort of hard Brexit with everybody falling out.
I do like the idea of a second Queen's speech, though, and the Labour are going, yeah, we got a second Queen's. So I'm like, how would that work? So the Queen goes, they all go out, and the Queen goes, right, and first one up, right, May, right, so, right, this is that, right. And so she finishes May's, and she goes, anybody else? Corby with his hand, yeah, Corby, you've got something? Yeah, I got a second one for you. You know what I mean? A second Queen's speech. So, I mean, that's pretty funny. But with Brexit, quickly, I'd like people in for a shock. Because when we do leave, and they'll all be turning up at the, Calais with their, crates of wine and their bags of tobacco, and they'd be going, where you going with that? Going home, and I, no, you're not. 200 cigarettes, mate, and 1 litre of wine. That's that back to the old days. We've left the EU now, so it's going to be a big shock when the Brexit kicks in, I think. So,
Will it affect you as an artist?
Well, yeah, I like to drink. I mean,
No, but surely travelling and...
supplies and that.
Yes, yeah, of course there is. I mean, we're not going to get in front of the queue anymore, the British, waving out passports. It's going to mean nothing to them now, isn't it? So I don't know. I mean, we'll always go abroad. We're just going to have to probably pay a bit more for things. Buying things coming in and out, and, that's definitely going to happen, I think. Because when we showed in Basel in Switzerland, I mean there was a tariff on the work if it was sold there, because.
But obviously they're not within the EU.
Yeah, so they'd have their own taxes. Yeah. So Brexit is great for free trade. It's just like we recently done a show in Hamburg. It was just like put the work in, come over, collect it, take it over there, show it back and forth. No problem, but we've gone to Switzerland. There was a lot of form filling.
Well, that's the issue, isn't it? And we need to get the sort of agreement which doesn't make it as difficult as possible, which makes it as easy as possible still to have some sort of rapport. Maybe the same type of agreement that maybe Norway has. Looking at ways that. Because, as you say, if you go for the full package, really harsh Brexit, it throws up all sorts of problems for us. So let's see if we can get a more workable agreement.
I know, and even today you heard about this roaming tariff, is it, with the phones? That's all because of EU. When we're going to lose that, I don't think people realise what we're going to lose. Delays in airlines. That was all a EU idea. Do you know what I mean? That we could claim back. So, fair enough. We've left now. What we can do about it? But I think it's going to sting us pretty big, really, if we don't have a good deal.
In the final moments, Nia, just quickly, what is the atmosphere like in Westminster for the Labour Party this week?
Well, I think clearly we are very, very pleased that we've made this huge step forward. We're delighted to have so many new colleagues that we can welcome. And, of course, many MPs had actually feared they might actually lose their seats. So we are very pleased, and to have 40% share of the vote. But we're very, very realistic that, we need to take that extra step in order to be in government. And so we're very determined that we will be totally on campaign footing, ready at any time for a general election, ready at any time to step up to the mark.
And the number, I was going to say to congratulate as well, but obviously the number of female women now have risen within the Parliament. How do you feel about that?
I think it's really, really important that Parliament should reflect all of our communities. So it's great to see an increased number of women. It's great to see representatives of all sorts of different ethnic communities, and it's just a much more diverse place. People with disabilities, people from the LGBT communities. So it is really important.
Can I quickly ask you, time is going?
I'm so sorry, but we have
Can you smoke in the Houses of Parliament?
After the break,
Only
we'll
on the
carry on with our
terrace.
chat with Nia and Neale, and we'll carry on that chat after the break.
Welcome back to your final part of Today on BayTV. I'm Liz Cairns, and Nia Griffith, the Shadow Defence Secretary and Member of Parliament for Llanelli, is still with us. And so, as you can hear, it's Neale Howells.
Radio is my way forward.
And as we know, this is Henry Darby-Clark.
Neale, it's finally your part. Let's talk art.
Okay, right, there we go. Yeah, well, you just missed it. We just discovered who Banksy was, but we went to commercial, so you're going to have to wait for that one.
It's a top secret.
Yeah, but well, I mean, for people who don't know who I am, my name's Neale Howells. I'm an artist based in Neath, studio in Batalbert. But we currently, I mean, this is why I got in touch with Swan Bay Radio Department. We currently showing in John Martin Gallery in London, which is it's a nice. I mean, and that's on until the 24th. So it's been going pretty well, but yeah. And as Nia was flicking through the catalogue with Nia, and you think, God, these are gorgeous. If only, if only my pay was higher, I could afford one of these. But and there's
Neale,
a picture of me in the studio. I think I've still got the same clothes on.
Tell us about your work and where you find inspiration.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a bit like children's drawings, but just bigger. I think when I went back to college, I mean, it's funny how you get into art, but I went back to college basically because I'd done real work. I realised I couldn't do that after when I was about 20. I said, so I sort of retired. Real work is quite hard, isn't it? So we would, and so I went back to Neath Tech, and from that on, they said, oh well, have you thought about doing A-level art? I said, well, can I do this or that? No, you can't do that. But you can do A-level art, perhaps because you've done O-level in it. And then it's a case of a great teacher, really, Ian Wagstaff. So, Ian, if you're still alive, and so he was a great teacher. And it's sort of after a couple of months there, I'd sort of get excited about art, where it could possibly go and that. And I guess that's really what keeps me going today. Okay. So if I had to describe what this art is, it's brilliant, obviously. Yeah. It could easily compete on an international level, I think. But you're always trying to do something new. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And one of the most important features, I think, of these are the size. So
definitely.
The size is amazing. What kind of timescale does it take from start to finish for some of the larger pieces?
Well, it depends how many people I got working for me at the time, Well, I'm not into that ballpark yet, but that would be quite nice, isn't it? But I work in a timeline. I work in a body of work of between 2 years. So if I do actually show work, it's everything done within that 2 years.
So you work to a deadline?
Well, I give myself about 2 years to do from beginning to end, and in that area, then you would have worked on really large works, and because everything's going on at the same time, it's just like, but yeah, they can take up to a year. I've got a piece in the studio right now, which is quite large, but really been lazy about it. But that's a year. But so it can take a long time. But what I like to do as well, especially lately, we've been involving ourselves in fashion on that.
Okay.
So and collaboration is great. Yeah. Because nobody wanted to collaborate with me years ago. It's too selfish. But now I'm getting old, I can enjoy people. And so I've been collaborating with Jane Pearson.
Wow.
Google her, she's really good. She's an international fashion designer based in Llanelli, but she got her own collection and everything. So for the last 2 years, we've done 3 collections with her for London Fashion Week.
Awesome.
And they've gone really well because they keep asking us back to do more. So we've got another one coming up, and those clothes then get used by musicians like Alicia Keys and stuff.
That's
and
brilliant.
Some great stuff on YouTube if you want to Google any of that.
Yeah, I'll have to. When you look at your photos, there's so many dimensions to it. And it's one of those things you could look at for hours and continuously find new things. Does anything to do with that happens in the outside world then? Do you ever think, oh my gosh, I'd like to use a little bit of that and put that in? Because I suppose you could fit anything within because they're so large.
She's good. Liz, is she good? She nailed that. Funny enough. Funny you should say that, right? But I constantly got the radio on in the studio. Yeah. So it's like a feed-in of information. And over the years, I mean, I must admit, I think it must be about 12 years I've been in that studio, but, so you do everything that comes through the radio, news, I mean, the tragic events that's happened this week, anything to do with London or, Amy Winehouse, that sort of thing, those moments, you capture them and they all get put in. Right. They're in there somewhere. Yeah. They're not going to be very obvious because you've got to look for them. And, I mean, sometimes somebody might point out something that I've written and I've completely missed it. But you know, I guess you can judge a good work of art by how big it is, no? By how many times you can come back to see different things, Les. You know, so they're all in there, and it's a good, you know, it's a good way to practice for me, radio and stuff. So
it's such a hotbed of talent in South Wales, Nia. How important is it for us to be proud of what we've got?
I think we should talk ourselves up. I mean, obviously we had the art school in Carmarthen. Well, that's now part of Trinity St David's, which is an expanding university. And I think it's great that we should be celebrating. But I think it's really important that we keep the arts in our schools as well. You know, whether it's music, whether it's performing arts, you know, whether it's creative arts like this. And I think people have often thought, oh, you know, those are subjects you do in your spare time. Like you said, you have a real job, and that's something extra. But actually, so much now, creativity is so much part of our economy.
It's a massive part of the economy.
It's absolutely huge.
You just look at Ed Thomas, who runs the studios down by the Bay. I mean, you know, Da Vinci Demons, Doctor Who, Sherlock.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
absolutely.
which is massive employment, really, for this area. So that is the exciting part for the, you know, for the creative young city of culture, Swansea. You know, those are the type of people you've got to get involved. Will get involved, I'm sure. You know.
So in the final moments, Neale, if anyone wants to see this show, when's it on? Where is it?
Well, it's in the John Martin Gallery in London, nice posh part. So make a weekend of it. Go up and have a look.
It's on at the moment, isn't it?
It's on till the 24th, and which is about a week or two left. So yeah, and it's going really well. And awesome. You know, and go up there, I'll go on my website or Facebook. Because we're always completely daily putting on new things.
Awesome.
Seeing what we do, showing us what we do and stuff.
Well, thank you both for joining us today, and thank you to all our guests. They're both still on the sofa, and to all our viewers watching us.
And today's film is Happy Go Lovely, starring David Niven.
It's a good one.
The music.
And with that, take it away, Dolly.
She's good.
I've been waiting, I've been losing my mind, I've been saving all my tears for a better time, to say goodbye, to leave your side, to all the things I dreamed. I've been waiting for you to let go of me. The night's calling, are you there, are you there? 'Cause my heart's falling, and now I'm scared, 'cause I don't wanna go on without you, and don't wanna fall behind. These dark clouds overhead have been circling my mind. I've been craving something I didn't need, and I've been saving all these little parts of me from these empty fights, the wasted nights, all the things I've done. I've been waiting for a better thing to come, to come, to come, to come to. To come, to come, to come, to come to. And it's highest orders, and it's my round, it's my round, but I can't afford it. But it's okay, got some bills back in my house, but it's not allowed. We'll keep it down with just friends anyway. In the street we'll talk, and we'll lie and choke, and we're killing time this way. And I've been waiting, I've been losing my mind. for a better time. Say goodbye to leave your side. To all the things I dreamed, I've been waiting for you.